Okay. Got Crone here. Let me check the replay file on this one. This is Heroes Hearth versus Method. This is at the HGC Western Clash in Phase 2. This is back in like 2018. November 2018, I think. Or July or something.
Take down this fort.
We're watching Crone here, playing Fenix. He's gone Arsenal synergy so far. Okay, as far as team comps go... Interesting. The other team has... basically solo damage Maiev. Okay, so I like Heroes Hearth's comp like way better. They have Deckard to set up APOC. They also have Entomb to set up APOC. They have Genji able to just pick off and probably bully the Malfurion, although he should have Ice Block at this point. And then Phoenix's job is basically just don't get thrown by Garrosh and pressure the Yrel. And then hope that... I don't know if Diablo does percent damage on his charge, but the Diablo and Leo can peel the Garrosh mostly. And then he also doesn't want to get like tethered by Maiev, but it's kind of... The main focus target to me here would be Yrel, Garrosh, Maiev. Those are the main three that I'm going to be focusing in fights if I'm the Phoenix in this case. And I'm going to be looking to probably just wombo with my team and maybe go on whatever target the Genji's calling out. Or just peeling for my team and especially my healer.
We must
Would be the way that I would play this most likely. They're splitting to lanes at level 1. It's a little bit unusual to me. Phoenix Leo is pretty strong wave clear, but I guess Maiev Malf isn't bad either. Curious as to why they would start Malf. Okay, so first off, take a look here. Again, we're not preemptively sitting on bomb. We are bombing the right target though. We're using scroll. He's queuing, he's primarily hitting the back line instead of placing himself to hit all 7, so this will take slightly longer. But at the same time, he doesn't know if Garrosh is in this bush or something. Or in this bush even. So stepping up is maybe a little bit iffy. But he still wants to clear fast. I still think I would step up. Because he has Sapphire. There's no Garrosh unstoppable. I don't think Garrosh should ever be able to actually threaten you here. Plus, like, they have no damage. Like, I don't understand how they actually kill you. Like, he can throw stun, sure. And then maybe there's a root follow-up or a tether or something. But you can warp probably, like, over this wall somewhere. So I think you could have cleared this a little bit faster. Clearing the mines with shield, that's always good. Doing the same thing again this way. We are bomb swapping now. Okay. So they're not doing their camp right at 1 minute. They're a little bit slow, but they're fighting here. This Malf looks really stepped up to me. This just looks like a free Kalana Malf. Okay, I think he didn't quite do the swapping very well here. Looked like he got 4 autos off. So first off, I think he could... Well, he doesn't need to bomb these, I guess. They're calling in engage. It's better for him to stay mounted. He switches to repeater, that's good. It's gonna Q on the Malf. And then swap. Yeah, so he did 4 before he swapped there, so that's just a counting thing. Pushes him off. He immediately warps out. He doesn't want to get thrown by Garrosh, or pull tethered by Maiev, or probably knock back by the Yrel. I still don't think you needed to warp here. He still had shield. I think you could pressure at least Garrosh here pretty hard. Like, he has no healer. And he's only going to be able to throw 1 of you and Genji. And Genji's going to be able to get out pretty easily. Once he's thrown you, I don't feel like you're under very much threat. And if Genji and you can stay on him, like if you just were autoing him this whole time, it would be fine. Like now is when I would maybe back off, so I don't get thrown into dodges. Okay, he gets the aggro shield at the end. Clearing this Genji's going to camp, or to clear top lane, so starts camp. Oh yeah, I need to like lower the sound on this. Gets insanely loud. Okay. See, it doesn't look like he was bomb swapping at the start of the camp. Yeah, he's just beatering the dude. So even though he knows to do the swap stepping, this is like slightly unoptimal, but not too big a deal. And then he tanks the damage correctly, so he takes all the damage on his shield. And then once his shield is down, BBJ should tank the damage because he has 10 armor. It's the most efficient way of doing that, to use as little mana on healing as possible. Take the least amount of damage. I don't like this warp in aggressively. I really don't like this. If he's wanting to be aggressive on the Garrosh there, just stay mounted and run at him, and use Warp to follow up a kill if like you get the wall stun over here from Diablo or something, and then he's like running this way or down this way, and you like need to follow somehow. I don't know. I don't like using Warp there. Why is this not on Fenix anymore? Okay. Back here, bomb swapping again. He hit the melee minions once, but otherwise that was fine. Good Q. He's charged up a bomb. This actually speeds up your camp clear. That's pretty nice. It's really weird that these look so far apart, and yet the bomb splashes all three of these on both sides of this map, even though some other maps like Siege Giant Camps that are just two things are too far apart, can't splash them. Here it works for all three baselines, so that's really nice. Again, he's tanking all the damage as shield, mostly because he was basically soloing it. Neither team got the support camp. This is how I remember this working, basically. He's going to clear top first so that his camp pushes in, and this camp tanks his full minion wave and the camp at the same time, and therefore it'll die first, and then your camp is pushing uncontested, and the other team has to send someone up to clear it. And the other team is standing on point anyway. Okay, I can't see Fenix's talents here. Okay. This always gave 40% for 4 seconds. Yeah, I don't think this talent was ever optimal. I'm not sure why people picked this talent when Fenix first came out. It's a long-lasting movement speed buff, which is nice, but this has such a high uptime in fights, and you can use it as an escape to get out of fights, and it's higher movement speed. And you want to keep your shield as much as possible. So you would never want to be in this situation where you're forced to choose between gaining movement speed by intentionally losing your shield or not gaining the movement speed and keeping the shield. So yeah, not a fan of this talent, but otherwise it's fine. Bomb swapping, do these. He did one bomb when it was one thing, but I do that sometimes. It's just a mistake that you make. Bomb swapping again. He did it on the melee minions there, but it's not too big a deal. They're backing off. They only see Urel on the point, it looks like. I like that he's, and as far as micro positioning goes and stuff, he's clearing this from the top side of the lane. Like, he could be clearing it down here and be at the same spot, but here, down here, if he's standing down here, is much more vulnerable to Garrosh or somebody out of this bush, right? Or even Maiev, Shade and Tether, or a Malfurion Root or something. So clearing it far away from the gank, like, entrance path gives you as much vision time to see them come in vision, and as much reaction time to create distance and then back off and like warp over this wall or something. So really good by him there. You can see exactly what I'm talking about when the Genji gets punished for doing exactly what he shouldn't be doing, and he takes a chunk of half his health for it. So this is good. They just want to speed this up, clearing. This person should probably not be rotating alone when they're still clearing. Yeah, this is just incorrect of BBJ to face check here. Like, we already saw them, that they're playing aggressive topside. We don't see anybody mid. They should be clearing mid, is what they should be doing. Yeah, there's just no reason for BBJ to get caught here. He drops the turret, but that's really unfortunate. Genji's just going to keep pushing top lane, because Shuriken's hitting structures is very good. They're at the mines. They can't do anything until BBJ's back, so They just kind of have to wait, and they don't have a turret, so they just give the full thing. Yeah, that's pretty rough. I think that's pretty much just due to BBJ dying, but... and this is probably during the meta where the first mech is pretty weak. So this is probably definitely correct in that case. I need to check the wave clear here again. He's sitting on repeater. He's trying to hit the mech here, which is fine. Okay, no, that wave clear was good. You kind of want to stay a little bit away from your tower so you don't get hit by the whatever charge, smash, punch thing, but took damage on his shield, that's it. It's fine. It's just a pretty minor thing to avoid if you can. Splashing the wave here. Yeah, it's maybe okay. I think the way you would want to splash the wave is just repeatering the mech and using Arsenal Splash to clear. Doing a good job of mounting up, not getting hit by the mech abilities. Garrosh throws RD down and his Q. They can engage onto this now. I don't think a Diablo stun here would hit. Doesn't look like it does. But he does get the flip after. So yes, they see him in the bush, he gets thrown. That does stun him. Alright, Blizzard. He gets cleansed by the Malf and then flipped and then uses his own unstoppable. They can really punish the URL before level 10s. We should just chase her down. He's repeatering this thing. I mean, okay, if I were playing it would be bad because he wouldn't be getting the movement speed increase, but I guess he's just not getting the movement speed increase at all. So it's still kind of bad. This talent is so much worse for chasing also. That's what I'm realizing now. You can't play nearly as aggressive with this talent. Okay, but now they're just focusing the support camp because they get it for free and they can't, like, realistically contest this before level 10s on their team. Leo gets thrown, has to back off. Iav walks up into a Diablo stun. Good positioning on targeting the bomb on like the further hero instead of the Maiev who he was actually hitting with the repeaters to potentially splash like other targets. Good job there. That warp out probably wasn't needed, but it's maybe good just in case. He could have maybe splashed this bomb that he just did a second ago onto like Athero or Bad Benny or maybe Curson, but I think Curson was like playing over back here. But one of them could have maybe hit all four of them, or at least three of them, I think. But that's fine. Yeah, he did a good job there. I couldn't see if that hit Athero, but yeah, they're gonna clear top. He's hitting melee minions here again. He's scared of getting flanked from this bush, so he wants to stay mounted. If anything, I would walk up this way. Well, maybe not. Because you're going to show in vision if you do that. So I think if he walks closer to this wall, and he's like up here, he's out of vision. But right now I still think he's in vision of this bush if somebody's sitting here. But regardless, he just wants to stay mounted to not get ganked. He sees them on the camp now. Now he can press forward and clear. He sees the Epither thing. Goes mid because there's nothing for him to do top lane. The other team invaded and stole the camp. He's up against Disc Taunt, normal URL ult, the bubble thing, invulnerable. Alpha's holding. We have Lightning Breath instead of APOC. That kind of makes sense. It's better synergy for Salvo. Probably should have realized that. I forgot this was a really common combo. And that'll pressure the Maiev and the Malf a lot harder. And it gives Diablo an unstoppable to not get like pulled by Maiev. Or thrown by Garrosh or something. Or taunted maybe. Or knockbacked by Yrel. Yeah. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. But they can still use sleep to set up a good wombo fight. Good wave clear. They're gonna get their camp again. Bomb swapping. It's hard to tell where when the control point is actually starting. I might consider clearing another wave mid here. Because Leo's not with you. And so you're not going to want to step on the point as 4 people, because then you can get engaged on 5v4. or they can just soak, but they also haven't done their camp, so they're probably not topside. And I'm pretty sure you know they're not in this bush. So I think I would clear this wave mid if I was prone in this situation. Oh, he wants to, but he's seeing people, I see. Okay. So instead Deckard's having to do it. That's much worse for you, though. He's much slower to wave clear, so the reason this is extra bad is because, like, instead of Fenix just, like, rotating down or whatever and clearing this and then coming back up and it taking, like, all of, like, 5 or 10 seconds, Deckard does not have wave clear. So he just has to wait for the fort to kill all this XP and stand in range of it. So instead of it taking 5 or 10 seconds, it probably takes 10 or 15 seconds. And maybe he misses a minion or something, so it's much slower for him to rotate. So you're playing as 3 people topside for a much longer period of time. So it gives you like more time to have a bad fight happen where you're down people or just like make a mistake or whatever and get caught. Like, much worse, I think, to have that happen. Good clearing now. He's targeting the backline minions because he's wanting to try and splash and like get dismounts on Maiev and Garrosh, or just chunk them a little bit before the fight so they're starting at lower HP. So I like that in this case. Again, they're still waiting for Leo to come up. Leo's clearing mid. They're wanting to soak so that they hit 13s at around the same time for this fight. Clearing again, he focused the backline, makes sense. He's chasing in on the Garrosh. I'm not sure that I like focusing the Garrosh. Like, realistically, you're never going to get significant damage on him right now, I feel like, and you're never going to threaten a kill or anything. It's mostly, I feel like, just being over-aggressive and risking yourself getting caught and dying. So I think once he's off the point, you're happy. Like, you don't need to over-chase into him. Yeah, it's a good splash there to hit, like, 4 people. They're clearing the camp now. Ishbu's going to get engaged on while they're split focus clearing the camp. And this, like, split type of engagement is really rough, where you have 2 people coming in. I call this the diagonal entrance. And this, like, the vertical entrance. And, like, down here, or maybe this... Yeah, these are like kind of a horizontal entrance. This one's a better example where you come in down here and then through the horizontal. Coming in through the diagonals on these is almost always really rough. It restricts your movement a lot. Like, you're not going to run against the conveyor belt, so kind of realistically only have one path in and out, and it's very small, whereas like this is a big area to walk in and out. It allows you to go here, and like if blue team's here and you're red team, you can walk in this way and you cut off their retreat path at the same time, so once you're on the point, it's really awkward if you lose control of this area, because then you have to retreat through the diagonal and like all this other stuff. So definitely awkward teamfight positioning here from Heroes Hearth, I think. So with that in mind, they kind of don't want to give up Ishbu on the point there, but it's going to be tough, I think, for Crone to step in like this, and Arthalon and BBJ stepping in this way is also kind of rough, potentially. Because this is a really easy way for Maiev and Yrel to jump on them, I think, and to them to get a good engage. I think Maiev is going to look to disc the Fenix, because that's a majority of their damage. Especially because the Genji is X-Strike, so he can avoid a disc. And he's just much more mobile at the same time. And if they can catch Fenix out of the disc, it should be a pretty much guaranteed kill. Unless he's already warping when the disc activates and it's like almost done. You can warp the disc activation as well. I've done that once. They've isolated the Garrosh here though, and this is a really good triangle to keep that separation. They're like, the only way to get to the Garrosh is to come through all 5 of the team now. And so Garrosh is isolated, they're going to be able to put good damage onto him, and these other 2 are going to be split, and they have to like get through all 5 of Heroes Hearth in order to help their Garrosh here. He drops the turret because he's in trouble. Crone gets jumped on by Yrel. He warps out. I'm going to watch this fight a lot slower, actually. Okay, so he's clearing a little bit. Again, he's just poking. He was looking to splash to dismount the Maiev there. He Qs. This is correct. It also is like really rough for Maiev resets coming in like this, I think, too. Being clumped. The thing I don't like about Ishbu's engage there was he used Q. It did kind of isolate him, but it also makes the threat on Maiev and Yrel a lot lower, I think. I think McIntyre needs to be up further ahead and like zoning for Crone. So Crone's gonna get Goomba stomped. He's actually body blocked, that's why he has to warp. Yrel should be able to DW knock back this warp, I think. I don't like this warp. I would actually run towards Garrosh here, I think, possibly. But Garrosh still has taunt. I still don't think I would warp here. I think I would wait out the knockback. But the problem is if he gets knocked back towards the Garrosh, he probably dies. So maybe he just has to risk this warp. Okay, that's an interesting decision to make. It's kind of just like a split-second decision you have to make, but you also would be stepping into a turret and probably taking a lot more damage from there. And their comp is going to be weak on damage, right? I mentioned at the start, it's like basically solo damage Maiev. I mean, the Abbot is kind of a flex damage too, but their team is weak on damage. The way they kill you is CC lockdown, basically. Okay. Well, I mean, he got the warp off, so that's good. I would splash the Maiev here. It should still splash the Yrel, but it'll also splash a bunch of these minions. I would want to splash the Maiev here for sure. He gets interrupted, switches back to repeater, has to switch back. That's kind of awkward. Here again, I would hit this minion to try and splash the Maiev, keep her dismounted, keep her chunked, and then it should hit probably that many minions. I don't think it'll hit this last one, but I would splash this minion specifically with this bomb. He's holding bomb too long here. Okay, he hits just the wave itself, doesn't hit the Maiev at all. I think that was kind of a missed opportunity, because you're basically missing... I mean, I can go back and see how much damage that bomb did. You're missing like 300 damage or something? 400 almost? It's a big chunk of damage. Let's see how much this bomb does. 415, yeah. It does big damage. It's like that is a third of Thero's health right now. So 2 more of those and you would kill Thero. Okay, so Garrosh gets the taunt down, Sleep comes down, Diablo gets thrown out. Crone is pretty chunked. They are not 13 here for Ancient Blessings and stuff. He gets Salvo off, only gets it on 2, has to Q after the Salvo. Slightly unoptimal. Just because you'd like to have the Q cooldown ticking while you're unable to do anything else during Salvo. Q might have been on cooldown. Let's double check that. I think it's up. Yeah, it should be up. The problem is he would have to step in further to get the Q before the Salvo here. And he's also kind of using it like the Deckard Silence, where it's mostly as a, like, it's almost a disengage tool, the Salvo. It's not actually purely for the threat. Well, I think you could step in and at least Q the Garrosh. And probably on the second Q spin, you could Q the Maiev. The problem is he doesn't want to step up, but there's a potion right here. He doesn't want to step up and get jumped on by this Yrel, because he gets bursted by that Yrel in that case. Well, he gets 2 potions. Okay, now he's fine, but he doesn't know that at this exact second. And you can see Athero tries to. He just misses on the jump. Doesn't get the jump reset either, which is good. So now he's chasing the Garrosh. Yeah, I would just focus Athero or ADRD here. Especially once ADRD shades in. That's #1 kill target now. You can get a good splash here. It'll splash 2 turrets as well. That's very nice. And it only splashed 1 because of the Diablo charge. That's okay. You could have technically splashed the turret, possibly. He might have been out of range where he was, but it's not too bad. You just fire repeater shots. There he did the same thing. I don't know whether it's a bug, but the bomb that was aimed on this turret, the turret died before the bomb landed. So it doesn't consume the bomb empowerment, but it also doesn't splash. It possibly would have killed ADRD there. We'll see. Not quite. Almost. But if that one had landed and then he does the second bomb on this turret, then that would have killed ADRD right now. Because bomb does... it won't show because we're on repeater. It'll do 25% more than whatever this shows. I need to do this, and I need to... Doesn't show my damage. I don't know how I can see the damage. Well, that's annoying. Okay, well, anyway. Let's go back to analyzing the fight. It should have killed ADRD. Pretty sure. Just doing that. Stay zoomed out, okay. Gets a good dismount on Nick as well, I think. Which is the, or ADRD is the clone. Nick is the real one. Gotcha. Okay, I got confused there. Probably should notice that better. Okay, so Diablo gets disked. He's on the conveyors. BBJ's dying to a turret. Slowly, they put a triangle down to help him out of the thing. The ADRD clone is going to get killed by Arthlon, fine. Thero's going to look to jump on BBJ and finish him off with a bursted EW probably. Keep him in the turret damage as long as possible. He's silenced here. He got dreamed, I see. Okay, so here you need to separate yourself from Bad Benny because if you get thrown, you're probably dead at this point. I think you need to kite down and around this thing. As soon as Diablo's unsilenced, he possibly has a Q, and he can Q a Thero into this wall. Or he just has to walk up to him and flip. I think BBJ should live here. Charges another jump. Diablo fire stomps and then Qs. Okay, so he does get the Q off. Getting that Q off is very important. I think it was kind of possibly a mistake for the Diablo to fire stomp there, but it's fine. Okay, back to paying attention to Fenix. So bombs. The engage happens. There's looking. So they do a good job here of like separating themselves, especially from the Diablo. You can see the two Maiev shades coming at him. They don't want to take that damage, and they also just want to separate themselves for any like AoE CC and spells that get casted over here to not be in danger of that stuff. He's repeater stutter stepping this turret. He maybe should focus the Urel here a little bit harder, but that's not too bad. He Qs but gets knocked away from the Urel. It's kind of unfortunate. He gets body blocked by McIntyre from being unable to path down, and now he gets thrown. So he was doing the correct thing. His teammate just kind of body blocked him there, unfortunately. He's getting tethered. I think he could have avoided this tether, however. He has warp right now. And Maiev hasn't even tethered him yet. He can warp anywhere he wants. He probably wants to warp over here. And then take the conveyor out and get next to BBJ and be ready to peel a Thero. Or he warps over here to pick off Malfurion if Arthalon is going to dash and X-Strike and try and burst the Malf with McIntyre. They've already used Entomb or March. Weird that they went March this game. Why would they go March? It gets him out of the CC and it's just an unstoppable. And they don't probably need the lockdown when they already have Sleep and Root. Because Diablo's not APOC? Okay, that kind of makes a lot of sense, actually. Neat. I've seen very few games where I would actually agree with a March pick, but that's one of them. I think he can warp here. I would probably warp towards Ishbu if it were me. Depending on communication, I think warping towards Curson is reasonable as well. But I don't think he needs to get tethered here. Or pulled by the tether, I should say. He's walking away. Like, even right now, he can start warp, and he would be fine. Maiev can't separate fast enough, especially she's going to get body blocked by Curson, and probably McIntyre. She can't walk far enough to actually pull you with this tether. You could even warp sort of over here, like diagonally, and just focus the Urel. I think you could absolutely warp this without getting pulled, but getting pulled there is really, really rough. He still gets the warp out. He does go the direction I'm expecting. Urel already ults at this point. So they're going to focus down McIntyre, but they don't have any damage. BBJ is very low. Genji still hasn't used X-Strike. I think X-Striking the Urel out of the ult is probably a good idea. Krone's just going to die here no matter what. The Maiev is on top of him, shaded in. This is a result of getting tethered and taking a bunch of damage before he could warp instead of warping earlier. So that's just his own misplay there, coming back to bite him a tiny bit. Leo should never get out here. All Maiev has to do is turn around and auto him once. Okay. I don't know why they felt the need to use... Well, I guess ally throw kind of makes sense. And maybe just Urel stomping on him is better and more consistent. That's kind of weird. And now she W's. Yeah, this is actually way better. W's so that Genji can't E, get on top of them, I have him finish her off. Okay. So that team fight didn't go very well for Hero's Hearth. They had awkward positioning to start, but they also had a couple misplays during the fight. And so instead, Method is going to win the support camp and the objective most likely. Although they're coming in to fight, they're not 13s yet, and they still have ults down for 5 to 10 seconds. Fenix is late a little bit. This, you can see, they don't ever, even when they're like wanting to go on it as fast as possible, they like intuitively don't go through here. They always go around. This is a much better way to go around. His Q is down, Deckard Triangle is down, Tether is down, and the Orc's just gonna Wraithwalk it. We're using bombs here. I think you could pressure Bad Benny here possibly. Oh, they're also trying to push to 13. I see. I understand the wave now. Yeah, that makes sense. Earthlon's dropping potions, especially on a retreat path. It's kind of not ideal though, because you'd want to put them on the point because you don't want to be retreating. You want to like push them off the point here. Alright, so they have all ults. They need to snap pick 13s. This is before the auxiliary shield changes to where it doesn't reduce your effective health pool anymore. I still always thought rapid recharge was decent, especially with Deckard. It's pretty good, I think. So I think either one here would be viable. I don't really have a preference. Like nowadays, you just always go rapid recharge. But back then, I know the meta pick and the more common pick was auxiliary shield, so I think that's likely what he'll pick. Yep. We do have Ancient Blessings. Thero's just going to look to jump on Crone again. They need to separate themselves better, I think. Like, Crone should be playing more down here, and just staying spread from BBJ and Arthalon a bit. I think BBJ should be playing probably closer up here, or over here-ish, to have better control of this zone area. Right now he's just a little bit far away, and that's why they're able to walk in so aggressively like this. And, like, if Diablo can step up a bit more as well and be over here, then Athero should just like get stunned here, and they shouldn't be able to walk up this way. Like they should have to go through the awkward diagonal way. They shouldn't be able to like come through and basically go vertically. Instead, Athero jumps on Leo, probably just to get an E reset, and possibly peel him off of the mouth. They're very split now, especially by this terrain. So I think Hero's Hearth should now basically try to like force split between them, like force the wedge between them, but with their own bodies. They should hard engage onto Maiev here, I think. And primarily they want to look for a root and then Diablo CC when she shades, and hopefully CC lock her through the shade of being unable to take the shade. I don't think they actually have long enough CC to do that though. Maybe with Deckard Sleep also. Deckard, again, he really wants to have stepped up here. And if he steps up, he can get a sleep in like this sort of area. Or this sort of area. And hit probably at least 3 people, maybe not the mouth. The mouth doesn't have silence yet, so they actually have no interrupt even if they don't hit mouth. It's mostly just Urel Garrosh and Maiev that he needs to hit. He gets jumped on. Tries to avoid getting knockback. He's straight on top of the Garrosh though, gets immediately taunted. Good try on the sleep, but he just gets blown up. Yep, that's just going to happen. So part of this level 4 talent being very suboptimal, I think, is your inability to play aggressive and the inability to do it safely and still have like an escape mechanism in the movement speed. So right now, if you had this other level 4 talent, you would have built up 30% movement speed here just by autoing her those 3 times. You could have stutter stepped a little bit better in between them probably. And then now you're moving 30% faster. You're moving mounted speed. Like you can avoid this stomp by just stutter stepping down and like avoiding it. You can even avoid it by going up actually. You can do either one. You can avoid it by going forward. But just moving further, you avoid giving her the reset on this. You have much better positioning on the ability after the jump to position yourself before this knockback comes in. That's probably why positioning forward or up are not optimal, and you would want to position down here, is you want to bait her to jump, like reaching as far forward as she can, overextending herself from her team, and even if you come up a little bit short and she still gets a reset on you, you're at least this way, like against her model, and you're only going to be able to get knockbacked in this sort of area. Like, you're never going to get knockbacked this way. So, yeah, that's a really big downside to like this talent and stuff. This talent is much better in teamfights and allows you to play aggressively and trade there and like dismount the URL, which is what you should be doing. But now you're just going to die every single time in that situation. Like, the sleep isn't going to save you. They have cleanses for it and stuff, so yeah, that's just going to happen. At this point, they have to give up the point because there's no way they win a 4v5, especially against items. HP's getting disked. I don't think there's realistically a chance that they kill him. Good try on the silence, but he even gets the Q off. With the silence, they might have actually killed him. I'm surprised Leo and Genji both left. They probably can't do anything to save him, though, to be fair. So once Fenix dies, they just leave. Arthlon's getting chased by Urel, so that's why he leaves. That makes sense. And then Leo's just soaking, because they know they're not contesting. And they're just deciding, if Diablo dies, he dies. But he lives. Okay, so they give up this. They should be able to get both the fort and then go bottom. They could also possibly play for the keep here. There are kind of close to 16s. And forts do give flat XP back then. If I was Method, I would still probably take this bottom after getting the top fort. I think he counted 4 there as well, repeaters. I wish B only went back like 5 seconds, not 10 seconds. Okay, so he has a bomb charged up, uses it good. Switches Q and repeater, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he does it after 4 again. That's weird. I think I've seen him do it at 3, he's just like not counting it correctly and used to the counting. He switches and then cancels the auto on the bomb again as well. That's another common thing to do. So he doesn't have like the smooth swapping on this down as well. He has the double swapping down pretty well though. Decently. Maybe a tiny bit slow, but too bad. Same thing again, just step up. Behind the Leo is good to have body blocks on the like power glove thing, the hand. Just step in Q and repeater, and then get arsenal procs on it. It gets disked. Good sleep, they use that to save him. He warps out, it's completely fine. Again, he autoed for 4 times. To be fair, you have to know that you autoed once now. And then you warp, and then he switches back, and now he's like, he was in that so long and he lost count, so he has only 2 attacks, possibly even only 1 there before he has bomb here, but he attacks another time and then switches. Gets the bomb off, Leo dies. Diablo should mount up and be rotating. This is Fenix's job to clear, and Diablo's not going to speed it up at all. This is just a waste of time. If anything, Fenix should be the one splitting here and getting this soak. I guess they want Fenix to be bottom to do the damage on the mech. That kind of makes sense. Still very weird here. I would feel very unsafe without Diablo bot lane, as far as peel goes. Especially with Deckard already using his ult. Like now he does not feel safe to step up. So it's like, you send him bottom to do damage, but if he can't safely step up to do the damage, then it's no difference either way. Like, and Arthlon can't even step up as Genji and get good, like, Shingon procs on this thing. Diablo does have a good flank now. I would definitely look on Curson. I think McIntyre needs to look for a slow. I think he... Yeah, and they should have looked for, like, a Ruby route out of the mech, too. This just felt slow. It felt like they didn't realize that they wanted to engage out of this. Or that this thing would be timing out and it would be low. Okay, he uses the root and scroll there. That kinda makes sense. EBJ is also very low mana. I think you would still rather want to save it. Like, I don't think that's realistically, because it's so easy to walk out of the route, I don't see the merit in using it because it's never going to deter them from actually getting the fort here. If they get the fort here, they're going to get the fort, like, no matter what you do. I would much rather save it for an engage, and Diablo should be rotating sooner if they're looking for this engage. Like, it has a timer, you know when it's going to time out, and Diablo needs to be standing, like, here right now and ready to engage and, like, keep people into this tower range, I think. He does the same thing where he bombs as the mech dies, so it doesn't consume the bomb, but it also doesn't splash or do any damage. Just a minor unfortunate thing there. Bombs the front of the wave so it doesn't hit all the backline. The splash, which you'd rather hit because those are the ones that do more siege damage. Gets dismounted, remounts up. Bombs the camp, popping on it. Good wave clear there. Good swap stepping. They're looking like they want to invade this turret. I think they're showing Genji topside. That is extremely unlikely to be a good idea. Or to work out well. The only way this works is if they're doing support camp, which makes sense because it's the higher priority camp for them to be doing. And so they should be up there. They're also about to hit 16, so they do kind of want Genji soaking, but I think that's just Leo's job. Okay, you saw them get it. They're just looking for a pick on the rotate. Okay, this makes more sense to me. The problem is they don't have vision of it currently. Okay, what 16 do I want on Fenix in this game? I very much think I want offensive cadence to pressure primarily the Garrosh and the Urel. I don't think the Maev is much of a problem, nor is the Malfurion, and you're not going to be getting as much damage out of Q and Salvo because you're only going to be hitting 4 people for half the team fights once Clone is down. And Maev's going to dodge your Salvo stuff with her ult anyway, and it gives more reliable healing if Urel ults. It's a minor consideration, but I think it's mostly just you want to be able to pressure Garrosh and Urel. Those are the ones that are pressuring you in fights right now. The Maev is not really a concern. If you're going to get disked, you're probably going to die no matter what, and it doesn't matter which 16 talent you take. Same as if you get tethered and then thrown and stuff, and then silenced. But it's only if you can kite back and pressure the Garrosh and Urel do you win fights, I think. So I definitely would go offensive cadence here. It's weird that I see people picking different 16s for me in both of the games so far. Offensive cadence also works on the mech, to be clear. So it goes up a little bit in value because it helps you burn the mech down, and it is superior for single target damage. Photonic Weaponry only wins out on AoE damage if you're hitting, like, not even 2+ targets, it has to be like 3+ targets, or if it's targets that are squishies. But for single targets or even 2 targets, offensive cadence is, like, single target, offensive cadence is better. 2 targets, they're about equal. So it's very interesting. You're also going to be hitting more targets less often because you're only going to have 4 people again after the clone or before the clone. I very much prefer offensive cadence this game. Good bomb swapping. I would have still stayed over here to mount up. Just I don't like having vision even over here, even though we kind of do. It's a very minor thing, but something to consider. I don't think there's any purpose in them being bottom. At best, they force out a turret and maybe Urel's ult. But probably only realistically one or the other, and it should probably be Urel's ult. I'm confused as to why he went this as well. I don't see the merit in this. It somewhat disrupts Urel, but this feels like his most underwhelming level 16 on Deckard. They're trying. Yeah, they just have no lockdown for her, though. They're never realistically going to get anything, I don't think. Going on the Maev seems like a much better possibility. Or the Garrosh, even. They're just wave clearing. He cleared the melees first, that's kind of weird. Mountsup gets a slow, but again, he can't chase in aggressively without the movement speed at level 4 also. Leo's double soaking topside waves. Mid and top, I should clarify. Swap stepping. Good wave clear. Gets dismounted by mines. What's the timer on that? 130? Yeah. Okay, so they're not level 20 yet. They're gonna push mid. They should want to force a fight before 20 in this situation, I think. Where's the best place for them to force a fight? Their turret camps are spawning. But they don't want to be on their side of the map. They want to be on blue side of the map. Yeah, fight your rel. Or just stand on point. Force them to fight you. That's better. Yeah, yeah. Okay. This Q could be much bigger and zone him and keep us slow on Garrosh much better. Okay, I want to watch this really slowly because this is like the game deciding fight, basically. So they step in. I don't like using Cube and Scroll here. BBJ is going to want this in this fight. It is not his Deckard's job to wave clear, especially not with this talent instead of the other level 16. This is Fenix's job to wave clear for sure. Or Leo. One of the two. Leo's standing down on here. Ishbu's zoning. McIntyre's pressuring off the Thero. Gets knocked back on the charge. That's unfortunate. Yeah, this Q needs to be way bigger from Crone. You should almost always max size Q against Garrosh. Almost always. He dodges the stun. This route, too, is like weird. I feel like rooting this area would be better. Or putting it even further out and restricting the retreat. Like, you want to fight them. You don't want them to wait and not fight, and then once the scroll is down, then engage, because that gives them closer time to hit 20. You want them to engage now. Just focus the Garrosh in this situation. He's trying to avoid getting tethered by my Evs, so he's playing back. I'll watch this back again. Just one more time. Swapping after 3 there both times, so that's good. I like this splash. It's going to splash their items. It's going to splash probably these 3 heroes, ADRD, Nick, and the Urel. It only hits 2. ADRD's on the conveyor, I forgot. It actually splashes this thing. That's nice too. The Treant. I still think focusing Athero is probably the play. BBJ is getting really split on these conveyors. He needs to like step up onto this thing. Getting stuck on the merry-go-round of conveyors is really rough. You can see it happening to them. To Method in this fight, and that's also making it hard for them to step in. It would also be much better if Deckard could step up onto the midpoint and sleep this area and catch them slept on the conveyors. But right now, I still think he wants to primarily not focus the Garrosh. I think either the Maev or Malf, but Malf seems unlikely to be a target at this point. I think it's just Maev. Or the Urel still would be my targets, or the clone maybe, but the clone is relatively low importance. So yeah, I would go on Athero. Gets a splash on him. Still charging up the bombs safely off the Garrosh is fine. I don't like that splash. I would definitely splash Athero here. That bomb. And it almost kills him. Yeah, you can't warp in that situation. Crone should not live. Yeah, okay. Actually, let's go back. I just want to look real quick at if there's anything else he can do aside from warp or ever be in that situation in the first place. Okay, so he's pressuring here, getting a splash. Misses the splash on Athero. Steps in for Q. He's just stepping too close and getting caught on the conveyor. Again, this is a result of his level 4 talent not giving him movement speed. He would have movement speed right now, and he could just book it out this way. He could even go down and then on the conveyor and avoid ever getting thrown here. He feels the need to warp because he's slow in fights. Like, that's the core fundamental why he's having issues with warping in fights. is because he doesn't have the movement speed. So he just has less tools to be able to position himself in fights safely. And then he gets caught and forced to warp, and like when you're forced to warp, it's very predictable and easy to shut down and CC and like prevent from happening from the other side. So you always want to have multiple options. Like I could either movement speed my way out of here, or warp, or hold the warp and warp later, or like, you know, get peeled by my teammates, or like all these other things. But restricting yourself to I either die or I warp, and then they interrupt warp and I still die is very rough. Stepping in here, they basically have to fight past the mech. They're down 20s. It's sort of a 5v3 to start, or a 5v4 almost, depending on how you consider the mech. But Leo dies very quickly. They're not going on a Thero, they're going on the Maiev. Gets the salvo on her. The Maiev trait isn't used to block salvo damage. He gets the Q going. It's getting knocked back by Yrel. They use Clone on the Maiev. He needs to finish off the main one though. That was good. Do I like this warp? Yeah, this warp is good. Okay. Just had to think for a second. Oh, he just gets actually sniped by all the turret damage from the mech. Unfortunate. And now they just lose because the mech walks to core. Alright, well overall I would say Crone seems to be a much weaker Fenix player compared to Homie as far as Heroes Hearth players go. They had Arthlon here, so this is either a sub situation for some reason, or an earlier iteration of Arthlon, where he was on the team, because I think they switched him for... Or maybe Homie was the sub in the other game. I don't remember. I don't remember the Heroes Hearth lineup, whatever. Lineage quite exactly, but overall I think Homie was the better Fenix player as far as Heroes Hearth goes from the games I've watched so far. And I'm really surprised at some of the talent choices, mostly at the level 4 and level 16s that I've seen from them so far. He did seem semi-comfortable using Arsenal Synergy, but not nearly to the comfortable level that I would probably want to see for recommending picking the talent. I'm not sure if he would have possibly gotten into worse situations with mobile offense, because I do think you see that sometimes too. Overall, I think he got enough value out of Arsenal Synergy to make it worth picking, actually. I would say so, yeah. He did get some good splashes and stuff, and you can see how it's very effective at killing turrets, or just killing other stuff in teamfights and splashing teamfights, splashing waves, especially like topside where there was this giant wave and he could hit two heroes like at the same time and stuff, so you can definitely see how this talent gets much more value out of being a single target and an AoE talent at the same time. I'm really surprised at the level 16 choice there, and I'm not sure why this talent was meta at the start. The only justification I can see is that you could potentially activate it multiple times in a fight by like having the leech from this, or rapid recharge for example, where you lose all your shield, then get some back, and then lose part of your shield again, and you just stay basically at half HP, and then you have the 5 seconds duration to have that happen again over and over, and then you just have a permanent 25% movement speed, which is nice, kind of, but at the same time, this is basically the same thing, but it's 40% movement speed. And it just works. Like, from your kit, it just works. Whereas this requires that weird situation and you to be at half HP. So this just seems like a strictly inferior talent. I'm not sure why this was ever meta. That's really interesting, actually. Because when he first came out, I didn't play him at the start because he was so overpowered. So I didn't play Fenix until like 6 months after he came out or whatever. And then I kind of just like he wasn't that meta at that point. And the like meta original build of like Q and then this and stuff had gotten nerfed. So then I was able to more sort of experiment with talents and figure out my own build that I thought worked best. But looking at this now, I'm very curious and would want to ask some players that played back then why this was the meta talent, I think, or what the reasoning was. Because to me, target acquired just seems strictly better. And maybe is and that's correct, and they just didn't realize that for some reason. Or it was just a holdover of the previous build where this was a strong talent for also reasons that I don't quite understand. Interesting. Very interesting. Cool. Alright, well that's what I'm going to leave you with for this game. I'll try and keep doing probably one of these a day. A lot of the replays I had are actually not working because of the, like, it can't backpatch to that patch or whatever that it was played on for like some of the mid-season brawl games and stuff. So yeah, unfortunately, some of the replays that I had are probably not usable that I was going to take a look at, so I actually have less replays than I think. So I think I have a couple more from Heroes Hearth that I want to look at, and then probably I'm going to start looking at other teams. I want to have like Ballistics, Tempest, there's a couple other teams that I wanted to look at that were recommended to me as having some strong Fenix players, and seeing if I can learn anything from them, or just analyzing their games and seeing yeah, what I can learn from them, or just what their positioning was like and how he played in HGC and stuff. I'm finding these actually more fun to do than I expected, so yeah, I'll try and keep it up doing these. Cool.